Time for VUC. In our 11th year, with us on our journey this year, Simwood.com. Simwood can turn you as a developer into a telco. Greenfield Tech. Go to greenfield.tech and see how they can make your tech dreams both feasible and affordable. Our conference bridge is the best you'll ever find at zipdx.com. VUC.me is hosted on Bluehost. And our worldwide local rate dial-ins are provided by voxphone.com. Thank you, Michael. And as you can see, I am bandwidth, well, you can't see, here I am, bandwidth restricted, ladies and gentlemen. So back to the slide. This is VUC663, September 15th, 2017. We're going to be talking COMMCON 2018. This is the first, for the moment, the UK's only open source real-time communications conference. We have Dan Jenkins online with us, and we got the sound, we got the audio, and we got Michael Graves, and you're looking at him right now. Michael, you're going to drive.
Hey, yeah, welcome. Thank you. And thank you, Dan, for coming. And I have a little preface, and that is, I think Dan and I met for maybe the first time at ClueCon earlier this year. And that was great. And there were some people and there was some tweeting going on, as there always is. And what happened was there were some folks who were putting on a web developer conference in London. And they were like a local group of web developers. And lo, I looked at their conference and it's called the State of the Browser. And I thought, gee, that's pretty cool. I would maybe like to go to that if I were a web developer. But then when I was looking down the list of what they were offering for sessions, there was nothing on real-time comms. And so I said, this is sad. And I just met this guy who is a self-professed web dev, and he should hook these guys up. Little did I know that Dan was putting together his own real-time comms conference. And so unmute yourself, Dan, and because you're muted in the Hangout. And welcome and thank you. And was that prescient? I know you're not going to do that State of the Browser thing, but hey.
Thank you. Actually, I'm going to take one of those out. That's really annoying. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, I've been doing talks at web developer conferences for a while.
Okay, but hang on. Let me, we've had you before.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
We want to go back to the beginning. Okay. How did you really start in the very early days? How did you really get into this technical stuff?
What, into RTC or web?
What was your first computer?
So my first computer, it was a homemade one by my dad, I think.
Okay.
Made up of a lot of recycled parts. So I'm one of four. I've got three brothers. So giving each one of us access to a computer was quite expensive. But my dad was quite handy. So yeah, he'd get like recycled computers and like make decent versions out of like 10. So that was probably my first. And then, yeah, I started doing web development, basic web development, when I was probably 12 or 13.
Now, what custom basic web development? Were you like hand coding HTML?
Yeah. Like, I don't think I ever did Dreamweaver type stuff where you kind of dragged and dropped. Everything was fairly basic HTML. And then I kind of started on PHP, and then I went to university, did some more PHP, and went and learned modern day web development in industry.
Cool. And your bio reads, I mean, how did you end up at Digium then?
So at a company that I used to work for, we were moving over to VoIP. And so happened it was Asterisk, and we had our own custom CRM system. So we wanted to integrate Asterisk into our custom CRM system. And because it was kind of lucky, I just got put on the project. So I ended up making a wrapper for the AMI in Asterisk so that we could then control Asterisk from this CRM system. So that's how I got into Asterisk. And then probably 2 or 3 years later, Digium knew me, and I knew Digium because I'd talked to Astracon 2 or 3 times by then. And they were starting off with their Bespoke project. So I guess I fit their kind of criteria of someone that knew enough about RTC, didn't know enough about the old legacy type SIP stuff. And I'm making a lot of people cringe right now, but didn't have all of the telephony stuff like implanted into my brain. And I still looked at things as a web developer. So I guess that resonated with them.
The whole thing about that is you were not burdened with all of this SS7 baggage and all of this, admiration for things like SDP and all of these things that sort of we're deliberately being cringeworthy here for some.
Right.
But the idea is that, WebRTC was supposed to make all of this more accessible, which is kind of why you were the great fit and the sort of
exactly.
analogy.
I mean, I know exactly what SS7 is. I couldn't tell you a thing about it. I only know what its purpose is, and that Matt Fredrickson wrote the SS7 stuff into Asterisk, and that's all that I know about SS7.
Your whole need to know about SS7 is to run as fast and as far as you can. because it's a brave new world, and WebRTC is the path, not or other things. SIP and WebRTC, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So WebRTC was meant to be this amazing thing that got web developers interested in, well, not interested, using RTC in a browser without a plugin. And unfortunately, that hasn't really come to pass because you still need to know an awful lot about real-time communications, funnily enough. Web developers are very used to kind of just like dabbing in and out of things. I mean, you have to be. There's a new JavaScript framework every single week, so you kind of have to learn to go into something, figure it out really quickly, apply it, and then move on to the next thing. You can't really do that with RTC, with WebRTC at least. Well, with any kind of RTC. So yeah, that's why there is a extreme lack of web developers doing WebRTC with enough knowledge, let's say.
The principle was sound, though, that WebRTC exposes things in a way that could be accessible. The only thing is it's not as easy as a little Node.js or a little jQuery or something going to.
It's not as easy as doing an HTTP call out to a website and to an API or whatever, getting back a result and then doing something with it. It's in an order of magnitude. It's like 10 times more difficult.
There have been people who have tried to spread the word, and I look at the guys at And Yet, who are basically a web dev shop, but they took on board this RTC as an opportunity, right? And so, in so doing, they've become a kind of a specialist organization now,
exactly,
which takes them away from being that generalized web dev shop,
right?
So, which is sort of that's kind of the market space thing. So, why a COMMCON?
So. I guess to answer that, I've got to go back in history a little bit to the days of me being a web developer. Like that hasn't really been the case properly for a couple of years now, at least since I set up Nimble8. Nimble8 is very much a specialist type consultancy, let's say. So if we go back in time about 4 years, I went to a conference called NodeConf EU. So that's the Node.js conference in Europe. And it was completely different to any conference that I'd ever been to before. You paid one price for your ticket. So you just had to get there, and that was it. All your meals were already paid for. It was very, very foreign. Like, let's say the first time that I went, I didn't know what I was gonna get. But I turned up on a coach with everyone else. So everyone arrived in Dublin, and we got on a coach for an hour to get down to Waterford. And so on the coach, you made friends. Then you got there, and you were shoved into a house with other people. And and you made friends. And then you went and had dinner, and you sat down next to someone that you'd never sat down before with, and you made another friend. And that was like it the whole way through, no comp VU. So it was very, very informal, very, what's the word I'm looking for? One-on-one a lot of the time. So I can say for certain that some of my best contacts, some of my best friends within the web industry at the moment, I met through No Comp VU. So that's the history lesson. And if we come back to like present day, or even the past 7 years of going to like AstraCon, this year at ClueCon, this year at Camellia World, that's not to say any of these conferences are bad. I just remember No Comp VU in my head. And so I'm continuously kind of thinking there's something missing. We all go to No Comp VU, we all go to like AstraCon, and we all have our groups. We know people already. So like I'll go out for breakfast. This happened at ClueCon. I went for breakfast with James because we were already connected. We were in a different place, and so we messaged each other and said, "Oh, do you want to go for breakfast?" So we went and had breakfast. At No Comp VU, you would have gone and sat down in a room and had breakfast already provided for you in one place, and you would have met someone new. I could have met someone new at ClueCon, but it was really easy to just like text James and go, "Oh, do you want to go for breakfast?" So there are these.
But we met fetching coffee.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but we already knew each other through this. So at No Comp VU, I met so many people that I'd never met before, and I probably wouldn't have met without being in that surrounding. So that's kind of why I'm looking to run something a bit different. And then the other reason why I'm looking to run, well, I am running COMMCON, is because I'm half tired of going to the US. There's nothing in the UK for this kind of arena. So, I mean, you can go over to Germany, you can go over to, where was Camellia World? It was in Germany, yeah. You can go over to Germany and go to Camellia World or OpenSIPS or whatever. Or you can go to Signal, which I think is next week in London. But Signal isn't an open source conference. It's centered around Twilio. There might be open source aspects of it, but there's that's not its goal. It's very much a Twilio conference, as it should be. Camellia World is very much just Camellia, mostly. And I haven't been to OpenSIP Summit, but I'm sure OpenSIP Summit is the same. So I was kind of looking for something that pulled all of those things together under one roof, in one place, for a couple of days. It's more like a jolly hangout with friends that you don't know are going to be your friends yet, and at the same time you have a good time and you learn, and it's a bit different.
Okay, so where are you in the process? I mean, it's been announced. In fact, to that effect, let me come over here and click on this, because you don't want people to see me, but I would like to see the place, because this looks like a fantastic place. And I perused their website, Wotton House in Surrey. Mm-hmm. Why here?
So I went and viewed 5 venues for this conference. That's really strange. Why is your CC really close? Like that's not how it looks on my screen. Anyway, I'll have to have a look at why that is. In the top left, yeah.
1280 by 720. That's
yeah. I'll have to look and fix that later. But anyway, I digress. Yes, I went and viewed 5 different venues for well, actually no, 6 different venues for COMMCON. So they all had criteria, in the sense of it's a residential conference, so everything's already, your accommodation's all sorted for you. So you have to have a venue that can handle that number of people. So there's 127 rooms at Wotton House. A lot of the other venues that I looked at were absolutely brilliant, but they didn't have enough accommodation. In the end, I think we came down to two that could hold the right amount of people to make a conference worthwhile, as well as fulfilling every other criteria that I had. The second bit of criteria was it had to be beautiful. It had to be rememberable. It had to be somewhere where you look back in 3 years' time and you remember the event, because you don't remember. I don't remember Astracon for a particular talk, and I don't remember ClueCon for a particular talk. I'm going to remember that I went down a river in Chicago in 3 years' time, and I'm going to remember that 2 years ago was Astracon in Orlando, and I went to a theme park. I don't remember the talks because that's just how you learn. So there had to be a reason for people to remember it and therefore want to come again, as well as spending a couple of days in a remarkable, beautiful place where it didn't feel conferencey, let's say. It felt a bit different. So there were only really two main factors for deciding. One was accommodation, one was beautiful. Oh yeah, so there were three, and good quality conference facilities. Yeah, that's it. So it's got a pool, it's got like a spa-y thingy. All the bedrooms have just been redone, refurnished. The grounds are absolutely amazing. And then the pro of kind of booking out all of their accommodation is pretty much just us for 3 and a bit days. So there could possibly be a couple of meetings or whatever held by other people, but in the evenings it will just be us. So to a degree, we can make as much noise as we want, we can drink as much as we want, and have as much fun as we want to without inconveniencing anyone else.
Do we have bandwidth?
It's got 100 meg up and 100 meg down. So
all right,
it should be fine. I've been told it will be fine. It depends on what I end up doing. At the moment, I don't have a plan of streaming talks out onto the internet, and therefore 100 meg symmetrical should be fine. If we get a sponsor to pay for streaming and video, etc., then that's something we'll look at, and we'll get some extra bandwidth in for that specifically.
You might not need it. You might not need it. 100 meg may be sufficient.
Yeah, we'll see. I'd like to have more than enough.
Happily crew that for you.
Right.
So who's the target market? Where are we gonna? I mean, maybe it's some of us, but clearly it's not us.
So yes and no. I got asked this the other week, and I said, "Oh well, I'd love for web developers to come," which is kind of true, but they're not really my target audience. They're not the people that are going to go, "Yeah, I should go to that," because the kinds of technologies that people are going to be speaking about at the event are going to be Asterisk, and are going to be FreeSwitch, and are going to be Jitsi, and the many other RTC projects that are out there. But web developers don't really know that they want to go to a conference specifically about kind of RTC. They'd much rather go to a web conference where they can go into one talk about WebRTC. So it kind of is it's mainly aimed at RTC developers, whether or not that's VoIP or whether or not that's people like me that integrate into lots of different solutions or whatever, as well as everyone on the panel. But it's not really targeted at web developers, which is kind of strange because I'm a web developer who happens to do RTC.
Well, and my impression is that you have at least a bifurcated market anyway, in that you're going to need some speakers, and that it's about comms means there are, at least from our circles here, potential for speakers.
Right,
But
exactly.
then taking it out into the web context is sort of, you're going to be a great bridge, and hopefully you'll find some others who can have some business cases and stories and help them.
Yeah,
Value.
exactly. I'd love for a certain smaller percentage of the attendees to be from a web background, but I'm not in any illusion that it's going to be 50% of my target or audience base. It is going to be a small number, and that's just because of how web developers go to conferences. They, like I was saying earlier, they have to kind of learn new things very quickly and move on very quickly, and therefore coming to a whole conference about real-time communication isn't really their game. They want to go to one conference and learn about 20 different things. So I'd love to see some web developers and some web teams come, but I don't think that's really going to happen.
It's still a drum we're going to harp on a little bit on your behalf, okay?
Right.
Because we need to make the pie bigger, and WebRTC was really about that. And they may not get it, but that doesn't mean that we're not committed to the principle. So
right. To be honest, it might be that I harp on about it if we run it for a second year, because it's a first time running the conference. Because it's the first time running the conference, there are obvious restrictions on what I can and can't do. I still have to sell a load of tickets, for example, whereas conferences like COMMCON and conferences like AstraCon kind of just know that they're going to get a certain number of people coming. So I might harp on about it and make it more of a thing if we make it into a second year. I mean, if we should make it into a second year, I'm hoping we make it into a second year. But I still need to get past the first year. And so to a degree, what's going to get me to that second year is my main concern right now.
okay, cool. James, you're unmuted.
Am
Join
I?
in. Yes.
Was I making typey noises?
No, you weren't.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, can I just make a comment? I think that what Dan's doing here is absolutely brilliant. It's typical Dan. So what Dan's done here is he's observed and he's thought, what makes this? What makes an event really brilliant? And then he's gone out and built something which has got all the elements of a brilliant event. And certainly I will be there. And I think it's going to be absolutely super.
Thank you, James. Yeah, hopefully everyone else, well, hopefully 85 more people will agree with you.
Well, what I'm thinking is it's going to sell out quite quickly, because 85 in the grand scheme of things is not a massive number. So what's the procedure for signing up? Because I want to make sure that I get a room before they all go, because I think they're going to go quite quickly.
I haven't I haven't opened up the ticket sales yet. My main thing was I had to pay a lump sum of money to the venue today, which for some strange reason narrows your mind and makes you concentrate on, oh, I need to like raise awareness about this thing now that I'm actually having to pay some money towards it. So that's why the website turned up at the beginning of the week, and so I'm not quite at the ticket sale point. I will be extraordinarily soon. It might be a case of at AstraCon I might open up ticket sales at AstraCon.
Okay, different question. Who do you want to talk? You have
who do I want to talk? So yeah. Again, the call for papers is not up yet. It will be next week, I think.
But what sort of thing? Because I tried my usual, shall we do a dangerous demo? You went, ugh. No.
Yeah. So who do I want to talk? So I'd love for people to talk about Asterisk. I'd love for people to talk about FreeSwitch. I'd love for people to talk about things like Jitsi and all of the other other RTC projects. But at the same time, I'd like people to talk about something a bit different. So Tim Panson is a great example of this. He knows exactly how to talk about something brand new or even old and make it relevant in a modern way. So there'll be a wide variety, let's say. Kind of goes back to Michael's question about target audience. So there's going to be 2 tracks, and one track is going to be kind of a VoIP type track, and the other track is going to be about other RTC. So if you're a WebRTC person, then you can come and just listen to WebRTC type stuff. Or if you're a VoIP person, you can just come and listen to VoIP type stuff. Whether or not it's Camelio, whether or not it's OpenSips, or whether or not it's FreeSwitch or Asterisk or another project. I'm hoping to give enough variety without there being too much variety.
Right. Rather annoying.
Because there's 5 tracks at Astracon this year. Have you heard?
Yeah. Talk about track.
I will be interested to see how it gets, how many people end up in each track, and whether or not I can go and see all of the talks that I want to go and see, because that's a lot of variety. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, because we haven't been able to experience it yet, but my gut feeling when I saw that there were 5 tracks was, oh my, that's a lot of talks.
Yeah, and it'd be okay if they were capturing them all on video, and so if you kind of miss one, you could go back and watch it later. But
well, so yes and no. We all lead busy lives, and so this is kind of why I'm in 2 minds about like paying to get talks recorded. After the event, how many talks do you actually go and watch? So let's say you missed, say, 15 talks that you would love to go and see. Do you actually go and watch those 15 talks?
It depends on the talks, the type of talk. So to give you an example, there are talks like the CCC ones, which I keep on going back to time and time again, because they're kind of reference points. It's the first time that something's been demonstrated, and they're really important.
Right.
So it really depends on the talk.
Yeah, I can't say that I leave an event and then go watch 15 talks.
No, I wouldn't watch 15.
When they eventually make their way online 6 months later. Camelio World does this amazingly well.
Yes.
Everyone else, not so much. So yeah, can I say that I go and watch talks that I miss? I don't. And that's because I'm a busy person and I'm flat out all day, every day with other people's projects. And so, yeah, I'll go and reference a talk if I need to hear some information from a talk.
Yeah, and this is the amazing thing. You're flat out all the time, and yet you still found time and the energy and the drive to build COMMCON. Yeah,
some people might say that I am crazy, but there's something missing in the UK. There's something missing in the UK and Europe, I think. So Randy is waving. Very distracting, Randy.
You know, and it's funny because it's the wind on the microphone that actually gave me the focus, and I didn't mean to do that. But I did want to ask you a question, Dan, and that was, you're sort of, I love the venue and the idea, and you're sort of looking to be more of an unconference, which is great. I think that needs to be happening. You also reminded me, in passing, I'll say, a little bit of a MUCON.
Mm-hmm.
And those, some of us, I don't know if you've ever been to, there were like 3 of those.
I haven't.
But James knows because he was there. But that was you weren't? Oh, well, Tim was, I don't know, a couple of us.
Tim would have been, yeah.
point is that, yeah, you mentioned Tim, and Tim was here, but my question was really about the length of talks, because if you are required to participate in the costs of people, or if sponsors are paying, then they want an hour talk or 40 minutes or whatever. But in fact, the YouTube, this is in response to your video thing, actually, that people do look at YouTubes if they're 10 or 15 minutes long and they address a specific problem. So if you were talking about RTC with regard to some challenge, some kind, like ice, let's just say, somebody's talking about ice. Well, if you have 10 to 15 minutes of something really specific on it, people will watch it because they'll do Google searches. So that's basically what I want to say, is that it would be interesting to have some quick talks. Sure, you can have the in-depth, 45, whatever the basic conference length is, but it might be interesting to have some, there's a name for this on these TED Talks, right?
They're like lightning talks, but they're not lightning talks. Yeah,
right.
Lightning
Ignite
talks,
or something.
Yeah. I completely agree with you.
For people who are local, especially who are not, don't have to huge costs to come, like perhaps Tim is an example of that. He wouldn't have to fill some huge slot. He could come and do a couple of different things that are short. In which case, my argument is that should be recorded, probably.
Right. So I completely agree with you. How we end up making something like that work, I don't have a clue yet. Like I say, I only signed my contract with the venue a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. And so everything's kind of on fast forward at the moment. So those kind of questions will get answered probably late this year. I just wanted to, something that you said, Randy, made me remember something. And you said about how sponsors, if sponsors sponsor a conference, then they kind of expect an hour-long talk or something. At this conference, if you sponsor, you will not get a talk, guaranteed. Just because you sponsor and give a conference money does not give you a sales pitch, does not give you a right to the hour. If you submit a talk and it's a good talk, then you being a sponsor will only help the cause. But it has to be a good talk and it has to go through the same process as everyone else. So yeah, because you're a platinum sponsor does not equate to 2 talks or whatever. You kind of have to earn your place to be there.
Yeah, of course. A suggestion maybe, if I can, hello everyone.
Sure, absolutely.
Is to have, very short talks, 15, 20 minutes. And if the argument is well accepted and well received, propose for the successive days some small workshops for people that want to participate in that. So like a taster session, or, well, I know about these, who's interested? And there you go.
Exactly. Short talks and then followed by a workshop. And hey, if you don't have enough people for the workshop, you don't do it. But you gather around, 5 people and they ask their questions and do their chat, and you do the social thing at the same time. This would be fantastic, I think.
Right. Yeah. So I guess we should talk slightly about the schedule as it stands. So on the website, it's like the 25th to the 29th, and people go, "Oh, that's 5 days. That's a long time." So that means that I've got to be there on the 24th, or I've got to get a hotel for the 24th. No, that's not right. So Michael, have you still got the website up, or do you want me to? I can share my screen, or
just a second. I'll have it up in just a moment. I had a technical failure and had to bring it all back, but there you go.
There we go. That CC is really annoying. If you can scroll down to provisional event schedule, or click on schedule at the top. There we go. So yeah, it runs 25th to the 29th of June next year, but you don't have to be there the day before, because the 25th is the day that you have to be there. So on the Monday, you arrive and you check in. So you get there at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon after traveling or whatever, and you check in, and then in the evening, we've got welcome drinks and an evening meal. So that will be a case of me telling everyone about the conference, and everyone sitting down together and having a meal together. and then you go off to bed, or you have lots of drinks, depending on what you want to do. And then Tuesday and Wednesday are pretty much the same. At the moment, it's set out for 2 tracks, one being VoIP and one being other, where you get all of your breakfast, all of your lunch, and all of the conference within that ticket price. And then afterwards, you get your evening meal and then any evening activities. So what kind of evening activities could I be talking about? Has anyone heard of duck herding? That is an possible evening activity. It's an English country English house. So imagine activities you can do around a English house with lots of grounds. So things like duck herding, fun events, let's say, and you won't have to leave anywhere, you won't have to go anywhere. So that's all included in your ticket. So that's Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday, you get your breakfast, and then it's workshops / training all day with your lunch break, and then evening meal and evening activities. And then so that would be like, I don't know, Thursday there'll be drinks of some description probably. I'm not using the word party because there won't be a party as such, but there'll be something because it'll be the last night. And then you go to bed, or you don't go to bed. You have breakfast Friday morning, and then you check out before 11. And then you're free to go. So it's really only a 3-day conference. But the reason why it states the 25th to the 29th is because you've got your hotel stay the Monday night, and you've got your hotel stay the Thursday night. And you've got breakfast in the morning on the Friday. And then you can go and do whatever you want. So that's why it states 25th to the 29th.
Excellent. And I actually think that's sensible, since most people are going to be engaged in some kind of travel anyway. And
right.
so
I hate it going to conferences, especially speaking on the last day. Last day in the afternoon is like the worst slot for a speaker. You need to change your thing, James. We'll be at COMMCON 2018, not 2017. But what was I saying? Oh yes, I hate being a speaker on the last day in the afternoon, because everyone goes and leaves early to go travel because they want to get home, and that's fair enough. They've already been away, etc., and so if they can make that duration shorter and go see their families or get back and work the next day, then you can't really blame people for wanting to do that. Yeah. But because of the ticket price, you pay a ticket price, and therefore you have a room on Monday night and you have a room Thursday night. Sorry, you kind of stay because you've already paid for it.
It's worth noting that you're actually arranging something for partners as well. So,
yeah. So
if you've got that room booked, you might as well bring the significant other and have him or her take,
or them.
Yeah,
or them. Yeah.
Make use of the wonderful place.
Yeah. So I guess we haven't talked about how much it is or any of that kind of stuff yet.
Yes. How much is it, Dan?
So it is £1,600, including VAT in England. So that sounds like a lot of money, but when you consider, if I paid for Astracon, I think I've spoken at every single Astracon that I've been to. So if I did pay for Astracon, I think it's in the £600 mark for me, and then I spend at least $1,000 on a hotel while I'm over there, and then add all the meals that I would then have. It's about the same.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Dan. The cost for me to go to Astracon is probably looking at about 1,500 quid.
Yeah, so don't include flights, because like that just depends where you are. But yeah, in terms of like hotel and food and everything else, it's very much on par.
And I think COMMCON possibly Sorry about this, David Duffett, but I suspect COMMCON will be better.
Yeah, we'll see. Every event is very different, isn't it? It's different. Yeah, every event is different.
And the fact that it's taking place in our backyard makes it extra attractive to all those wonderful people who are here in UK, for whom possibly going to ClueCon or AstraCon is just a little bit too much.
Right. So there are a lot of companies doing VoIP/RTC/ this kind of arena, let's say, because the lines are getting blurred. That I would talk to every single week, and I never see them at AstraCon, and I never see them at ClueCon. Well, this year was my first ClueCon, but I didn't see them at ClueCon, etc. And that's because it costs a lot of money. Like flights alone to Orlando are over probably 700 quid return. To Chicago, they were over $1,000 just for flights. That's a lot of money. So if you can mosey your way down to Surrey for a couple of days, and it only costs you 100 quid in train ticket or whatever, then it's a bargain.
Not to mention the incredible anguish of all the security checks and the lengthy trip,
right?
And the whole passport. You know, I mean, for sure, it's a huge difference if you're coming from Britain and even Europe.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what the point I was going to make, because it's so much south in England that it's pretty easy to come from even Spain or France or Germany. That place. It's probably easier from there than from where I am in Scotland.
Yes, probably. So in terms of if you wanted to fly into Gatwick, you can get from Gatwick to Wotton House in 40 minutes on the train, I think.
Yeah, it has to be pointed out that the venue is almost directly halfway between Heathrow and Gatwick Airport. So
yeah,
it's very well located.
How about Luton?
Unlucky.
Yeah.
Wrong side of London.
Yeah.
Oh, wrong.
But who flies into Luton?
Well, that's our direct flight from here.
Unlucky.
But yeah, there are very good links. You can get from London. You can get from London Waterloo, I think it is, to Dorking train station in 50 minutes, I think. And then it's a 10-minute taxi to Wotton House. So you can get from Wotton House up into central London inside an hour, which kind of brings me on to you can bring your significant other of whoever they are to the event with you. So you're already paying for the conference, and so why not bring your other half? Like if you're coming from coming from anywhere really, why not bring your other half? And the other half's ticket is £350, and that includes all of their meals and all of their accommodation and all of the events as well.
And yeah, bring your significant others so that Randy can amuse himself by chatting them up.
Yep.
Yes.
Unfair.
Right.
But very true.
So yeah, £350 for 3 and a bit days of being in a 4-star hotel with a pool, with amazing grounds, and you can go for a day trip into London or whatever, and for 350 quid. So we at No Comp VU they did an other halves track. I'm not going that far this year because it's the first year. This year we're just kind of dealing with, you can bring your other half and this is how much it's going to cost to feed them. Next year we might decide to do like a special thing, but this year we're trying to concentrate on getting the conference to be the conference that I want it to be, and that takes a lot of time and effort.
It sounds absolutely brilliant, Dan, and I will be there.
James Bodie will be at COMMCON 2018.
I hope that doesn't put too many people off.
I'm looking forward to see what the speaking schedule amounts to, because not being a developer, I'll just wait and see what that will be the draw. But I think it's quite exciting. And
right. So I can kind of answer slightly that now. So you said you're not a developer. And so Astracon has like this business track, for example, and it targets a different audience. This is going to be fairly developer centric, let's say, unless I get a ton of CFPs or a lot of interest from a different target audience that I don't expect. But my gut feeling is I'm going to get more developers in those 85, 90 / slots, more developers than anything else. So yeah, the interest for the type of person registering will very much depict the speaking schedule, let's say.
yeah.
So you've got to look at your target audience before deciding what the talks are.
As much as I can. So obviously I understand that a lot of people won't buy a ticket until there are some talks confirmed. Because I mean, having say Matt Jordan or Matt Fredrickson or Anthony from the Free Switch project, having those types of people on your board will then get people interested and go, oh, this is a serious event. I should buy a ticket for this. So there's that on one hand. You want to confirm some people, and you want to get interest, but at the same time, there's no point having 70 people turn up to your conference and you've completely targeted your talks at the wrong audience. So there's a balancing game, and I mean, this is the first time that I've run an event, and therefore I'm learning an awful lot. But at the same time, I'm very conscious about I've only got 85, 90 slots for people to come, and I've only got so many slots for speakers because the hotel only has so many rooms. So there's a big juggling act about to happen, and we'll see what balls stay up in the air.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Just to return to the connectivity thing here.
Yes.
One of my concerns here immediately is that house looks quite sprawling.
Right.
And an extra like 85, 90 people that have probably got about 300 devices between them may well be stressing the Wi-Fi just a little bit.
Right. So this was one of the criteria. It was lower down because you can go and put in temporary Wi-Fi. But it was one of the criteria. It didn't need to happen, but I've been assured that they run big conferences for a lot of big tech companies, and they are 100% confident that they will be able to handle 3 devices for every single person there. I'm going to have a backup plan just in case, but I've been assured that they know how to deal with it. So okay. So far I trust them. So we'll see what happens at the event.
That's a wise move.
Dan
That's a very wise move.
Ooh, no idea.
What, the backup plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
There will be a backup plan just in case, but which obviously won't happen like as soon as if there is an issue, but it would get rectified very, very quickly.
Yeah, I suggest you go there with some tools and check what is the brand and make of the access points and everything else. If there's a controller that keeps everything in
right.
gauge,
yeah,
there's 4 gigahertz and so on.
Yeah, that'll be a job for next year. But so far, I am very, very confident in what I've seen. Let's say, and I know enough about good Wi-Fi at conferences.
Right.
Okay. So let's assume that the Wi-Fi is good.
Yes.
But aside from that, have you any idea what the mobile coverage is like?
Yeah. Well, I've already looked that up.
Thought you might have done.
Everything but 3, which in some ways is a little bit annoying because I would have quite liked it if there was no mobile coverage for obvious reasons.
So that sounds really nice in theory, James. But when you're at an event, say let's say you're you're coming from the US or you're coming from the UK, from Europe, you definitely want to be able to get some kind of mobile
I think you
phone
might be
signal.
misunderstanding James's intent here.
Right. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, multi-operator neutral host.
Yes.
If there's no
So,
coverage,
but there is
coverage.
there is good coverage apart from 3, which is the network that I'm on.
And
So I will be getting a temporary number for the conference.
Well, perhaps we might be able to help you there.
Maybe you might be able to help me with that.
Yeah, and you could have a black SIM card.
Ah, well, yeah. I think you had some, didn't you, at ClueCon or something?
Yeah, but they weren't.
One.
But they weren't working properly. But
okay.
But they will be by
Perhaps all attendees, or at least speakers, should have those cards.
Yeah, maybe.
Now
There
there's
That would be the dangerous demo.
yeah, but you know what we were talking about, the dangerous demos. Over the last couple of years, dangerous demos have got more wild and wacky. But when we kind of originally kicked off the concept, it was all deadly serious, and it's all about doing useful demos, possibly as a taster to lead into other things.
Right. It was very much speakers are already doing demos within their talks, so why not bring them all into a room so that everyone can see them? Is pretty much what the idea was. And yeah, over the years it's become a bit more wacky and to a degree, there are only so many things you can do with Asterisk, and there are only so many things you can do with FreeSwitch, for example. So at the moment it's undecided whether or not we'll have the current format of dangerous demos, or whether or not there'll be something new, or what. But I'll be talking to James about that.
I'd really like to do something which is different,
right,
with a special COMMCON flavor to it, which probably would be a lot more focused and serious,
right?
Possibly as a lead in to some other sessions.
Yeah, we will see. We'll see what happens over the next. Wow, what is it?
Okay, and something
like
we haven't mentioned at all. And look, it's the lovely Kathleen. Right, just as I was about to say the Sipsmith word, something we have mentioned is the proximity of the venue to the Sipsmith distillery.
So I actually don't know, how close is it to the Sipsmith distillery?
It's pretty damn. It's about 18 miles.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't know that. So yeah,
what fun is it then?
Maybe we will see Sipsmith at the event,
and perhaps they have a way to bring a bus tour kind of thing, like the Institute did in the world.
Well, I don't know about bus tour. I'm thinking more of a tanker.
Actually, who cares about the tour? Bring the bottles.
That's
Kathleen
right.
is with us, and she has a question.
I was just wondering, are you going to be, just content-wise, going back to talks, are you going to keep it all highly technical, or are you going to include some sort of softer talks, sort of like Allison, where it's not highly technical, but it is still relevant?
Yes is the easy answer to that. Yeah, I honestly don't know the kind of range, but I mean, you'd be silly not to have Alison come and speak at your conference about RTC. She's kind of the queen of RTC. So we'll see. But there will be a broad range of talks, let's say, that fit the target audience that want to come.
All right, cool.
I think just to bounce off something you said earlier, Dan, and with Kathleen's question, I recall the last COMMCON, he had as guest the guy, and I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, from Opera, right? If I'm not mistaken. Of course, nobody's here who was there. So anyway, he had something that was kind of just like somebody from Mozilla spoke at another conference. That's not really right in the zone, but it's something that all of those people who were there would be interested in.
Right.
Yeah, and don't forget there's the added bonus. If this is somebody who's really influential in their particular little area, then you can impress, you can impregnate them. That's probably the wrong word, but indoctrinate them with the RTC doctrine, can't you?
Right. So yeah, it's all kind of up in the air. I literally, when did I put the website live? Monday or Tuesday? Or was it Friday? I can't remember. It was a couple of days ago. So yeah, all of this is kind of to be decided. And there'll be more of a plan by the time that I put tickets on sale, maybe at Astricon. We shall see.
That is a pretty good target to aim for, I think.
I have one last question, Dan, which is, if people from the VUC would like to commit before Astricon, do you think we could work out a little VUC discount with an early cutoff date? Let's face it, that way you have funds flowing in.
Asking me that on air,
yeah,
I'm sure we might be able to work something out. If you would like to go and register your interest, you can go to commcon.xyz, and there's a register button where you can go and register your interest. And maybe I might make it so that you can, I don't know, register your interest, and maybe we can work something out.
I think every one of us here, including Kathleen, will do that.
Well, Kathleen is clearly angling with her softer talks.
I've actually already done it. I did it like 10 minutes ago. And yes, that is kind of my motivation. I was
funny that I spotted that one.
If someone were interested in maybe talking, but they weren't very technical, maybe I would attempt.
Yeah. So put in a good talk, and if it's right for the right audience, then it will get picked.
So how to write documentation for open source projects? Is that it, Kathleen? Is that your talk?
Oh, I could do that.
Yeah, I'm sure you could, and I wish somebody would.
Open source flower arranging or open source cocktail mixing could be quite good.
So I know that we're coming up onto our hour, so I'm going to very quickly say I am looking for sponsors. There are different sponsorship packages. I'm very lucky that someone has already said that they want to be a sponsor.
Are you allowed to say who?
No, not yet, because they have not signed a contract, because I haven't given them a contract. Because I only put the website up a week ago or whatever it was.
What sort of people do you want to sponsor you?
Anyone that wants to give me money, James. No, seriously. Influential companies that are doing stuff within the RTC space and want to contribute to an event that is more community focused. Companies that want to give back a little bit to the community as well.
Well, I can think of one company that immediately springs to mind.
But on the other hand, this is my first year, and therefore, if someone that wasn't any of those things wanted to give me £15,000, which is the top sponsorship, I would not say no.
Sorry, how much?
£15,000.
And what's the lowest? The
VUC can write a check today for that.
Right, exactly. So the top sponsorship is £15,000. The bottom sponsorship is £5,000. But within that, you get, so the top sponsorship, you get 3 tickets to the conference. So if you see that as worth just under £5,000, so the sponsorship is actually costing you about £10,000. And then for the second tier, you get 2 tickets, and then for the first tier, you get 1 ticket. So there's a lot more to it than, oh, that's a lot of money. Because of the whole nature of the event being very different to anything else within, well, almost within this space, then the sponsorship is different, let's say.
Right. Well, I think we will be. I can speak for Andy. Andy and I will definitely be there.
Great.
Try and keep me away.
There's 2 tickets gone.
And I think that 3rd ticket could be for me, James, under your auspices. Thank you very much. Michael, you're driving. I don't want to break in and say that's an hour, but you're missing anything?
No, I think we've covered it. One of these things where maybe we're just slightly ahead of the game, but on the other hand, let's start the drums beating, because that way you'll get your ticket sales, and not only that, but you'll get the speakers that you want, at least from those who might pay attention to this crowd.
Well, no, thank you very much for having me on. Considering I launched it however many days ago, I forget. It's great to kind of, it's very difficult to go onto the COMMCON website and really grasp the concept. It's very, because it's very different. There's one ticket price, there's this, and it covers you for everything, and that in itself is very different. So to be able to come on and talk about it and kind of explain the reasoning behind that is absolutely brilliant for me. And I can kind of point people towards this video and have them get the idea from a video rather than a website.
And I'll tell you what, something else that's really, really good about it. July the 25th to 29th is in school holidays. So those of us who have school teacher spouses will be allowed out.
Right.
Except that I see that it's June.
It's June.
Well, why does it say July the 25th to 29th?
It says June on my screen.
Where does it say July?
In the thanks, James will be in touch post sign up page.
Oh my.
Oh, have we found a bug?
Where? Send me a link in a minute.
It definitely says July 25th, 29th.
Oh my. So which is it? It's June though, correct?
It's June. Oh,
Okay.
on the actual register thing.
Yeah.
I
just posted it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I'll go change that.
All right. Thank you, Dan, and thanks to everybody who participated. Let me put that back up. That Mike. Oh, there we go. Michael's got the poster up. We're looking at it right now. COMMCON 2018, 25th, 29th June. This is not the last time you'll hear of this on VUC, because we intend to be a force to contend with. Correct, James?
Absolutely. We and you know what? We will, I think, all be there.
Yes, and
Yeah,
we'll do.
we're going to come and kidnap Corrado, drag him down.
He has to be there.
It's feasible.
He has to be there.
And
And Kathleen will be there. I will try to be there. I've written the dates down. So that's it. We're going to monopolize the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm just visualizing Kathleen looking stately with that backdrop of that in that garden with a pink drink. You'll certainly have to have a new hairstyle for that one, Kathleen.
I'll have to come up with something creative.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, I can see
All right,
it already.
I think we are headed for the mature audiences only. So thanks, everybody.
Yes.
We will see you next week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.